process. We do validate the target if they are legitimate military targets with all the informations we can get. These targets then will be placed on the master target list, consistent to NATO plans, and those targets, once they are legitimate, we are going to attack. I have no evidence that we are using old maps, wrong maps.
Okay, Mark, please.
Okay, a couple of points. I appreciate that the review process is still underway, but could you at least tell us something which you must know, which is, and which can no longer be a necessary secret, which is what kind of weapons were you using? Was this an attack by laser or television-guided weapons, or by television, or by satellite-guided munitions, such as cruise missiles? Could you at least tell us that? And on the matter of niche, how far away did this bomb miss? It seems quite a long way for a bomb to go over, given your previous record.
On the NATO, yes, I can tell you that it was a NATO aircraft, and we did hit the target, which was supposed to be the headquarters of this facility I was talking about, with smart weapons. On the niche part, the whole process is still under review. As I said, we were using cluster bombs on the niche target, because, as I already mentioned, cluster bombs are used in aerial targets where we know the collateral damage could not occur. And as we are under review, it would be a speculation if I would continue on the reason why some of the clusters obviously did go astray, or maybe because of technical malfunction could have been inadvertently released.
Okay, Pavel, please.
Thank you, Jimmy. General, can you tell us how many bombs did hit the embassy? Was it just one or more? Thank you.
I'm not in the position to go on more details on the number of bombs. It was more than one.
Okay, I'll take just a couple of more questions. Craig, go ahead.
General, just to be sure I understand what you were saying about the embassy and the headquarters of the building you were trying to hit. We were told this morning that the two were close together, but you seem to be saying you don't know where the building you wanted to hit was, that's why the embassy was hit. Is that correct?
This morning, of course, as the incident happened, we wanted to give you the information which were available to us by that time. So you know it's always a very difficult situation to give you, because you need it, the amount of information which is necessary on one side, and on the other side we have to be very honest. We want to be credible, and we need to talk to the pilots in this special occasion on the NATO aircraft what happened, so that we know really what was going on. And that's why I think it's fair to you and also fair to us just to mention it this afternoon. We did target this target because we thought it was the headquarters.
Sorry, pardon me. We've got a system here which makes the fairest to everybody concerned. George, please.
The Belgrade incident, the niche incident, shows how risky targeting downtown target. The question raises itself: is it worthwhile doing so? Do you have as much benefit out of it than it's worthwhile doing it to targeting downtown?
Well, we had, unfortunately, to target some targets downtown Belgrade in the past, and we hit them because they did belong to the command structure of a regime which we think is a brutal regime, talking and listening and seeing the pictures and what's happening in Kosovo. So yes, we do continue to find legitimate targets which are totally agreed by those countries who want to end this conflict.
If I may, just at this stage, also intervene. I mean, George, what General Yates made very clear in the briefing today is that, yes, we did make a bad mistake yesterday night. That's clear. And we're being very open about that. That's the only way we can be. But that wasn't the only thing that happened last night. A lot of other things happened. A lot of things which are going to have a very long-term impact on the war machine of President Milosevic. Not just the fact that the Hotel Yugoslavia, the head of Arkan's Tigers, was struck, hopefully in a way which will undermine his ability to carry out his paramilitary activities. But I think if you look at the list, you'll see that the overwhelming number of targets were very high-value targets and were struck effectively and with the accuracy that we always try to achieve. Let's have a quick look at the list. The military command structure at the Dobronavici Presidential Command Center, Ministry of Defense Headquarters South, National Military Headquarters North, electric power generation and distribution was also hit in the capital with 4 transformer yards attacked. I've mentioned the Hotel Yugoslavia. There was also Batanicka Airfield outside Belgrade. NATO aircraft also successfully struck lines of communication, including bridges at Muri, Raska, Miloveso, Bari, Usaci, Madlic and Kuprica. Communication sites located in Kachak, Kručevac, Ultice, Novi Sad and several others in the Belgrade area were also successfully targeted. Fuel storage, which is one of our priorities, as you well know, was again struck last night with attacks on storage sites in Podsega, Pirani, Kachak. And as General Yates said, we also struck priority facilities, ammunition storage in 2 locations, Partizan and Kuprica. So I want to emphasize that last night there was a very extensive range of operations, and we are going successfully and accurately after those military targets, which alone at the end of the day can back up the diplomatic efforts which we are hoping are going to achieve a result, and keeping the pressure up on Milosevic. And so please don't dismiss that. Last night, a great deal of what was done accurately and professionally. Of course, everything is overshadowed, as we expect, as we recognize, by this one very, very bad mistake. But we continue to go after those military power structures which alone can make Milosevic stop the war in Kosovo, and that has to remain our priority. I apologize for General Yates for adding on to his answer there, but I just thought we really have to put this thing in a right context. Okay, Jake, final question to you, and then we stop for today.
Thank you, Sky News. General, the SHAPE briefing this morning mentioned that the building the procurement facility was also a weapons warehouse. So far as you are concerned, was it a weapons warehouse in the sense that munitions were actually being stored there? Secondly, you mentioned NATO's regret at the potential damage to the diplomatic process here. Does NATO, on its map of Belgrade, have clearly marked the embassies of all the various countries, particularly Security Council members, as ones to avoid? And if so, where did NATO believe the Chinese embassy was located?
Well, let me start with the second question first. Particularly, as we were not going to attack the Chinese embassy, we were not in the process of trying to find it where it is, but going to the intelligence part of the house. We have not only the map of Belgrade as an intelligence source, we have all different kind of intelligence sources which give us the best and precise information which could ever be. And once again, we did not go after an embassy, and that's why this question, I think, should be refused. But yes, of course, we do know where the embassies are.
Okay.
And was it a weapons warehouse?
I'm not aware of the weapons warehouse. I have no information on that.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We'll have another briefing tomorrow at 10:30 and another briefing at 3 o'clock.
We've been listening to Major General Walter Yurts and Jamie Shea, spokespersons for NATO, as they conduct the daily briefing from NATO. Earlier we heard from the Secretary General Javier Solana of NATO as they expressed profound regret over what is being called a mistake, the bombing attack of the Chinese embassy in Belgrade. According to General Yurts, it was something that they send regret to, even as military people. It was a mistake, a terrible error, and something that the military aspect of NATO will make sure won't happen again. Having said all that, General Yurts went on to detail what he says is the most extensive attacks to date on Milosevic's military complex in Belgrade, listing several headquarters which were attacked, command and control centers, as well as power generating facilities. Also moving along to Niš, where an airfield was attacked by a so-called cluster bomb, which are generally used in areas where not as tight precision is required. NATO owning up to civilian casualties there that they say were not intended. The intended target in Belgrade was apparently a so-called Federal Directorate for Supply and Procurement. Apparently, NATO mistaking the Chinese embassy for that particular building. Jamie Shea pointing out at the end, the spokesman saying a great deal was done accurately and professionally in that campaign, obviously overshadowed by the situation at the Chinese embassy in Belgrade. Let's turn now to our retired Air Force General Larry Farrell, who is listening to that briefing with us. General Farrell, good to have you with us.
Miles, good to see you.
All right. First of all, you get the sense, reading between the lines as you listen to the General, that basically they just pinpointed the wrong building. Is that the way you read it?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. They said the wrong building, so I take it from that it was not. It implies that there was not a weapons malfunction. So then the question is, how did they come to target that as the Chinese embassy as the building they were actually going after? So they thought it was something else, and I think they have some notion of what happened. They just don't know exactly how they came to have the wrong information in this targeting cycle.
He was asked on follow-up about how up-to-date the maps are. His indication or his statement was not using out-of-date or old or wrong maps. Is it possible, however, there might be something in a database somewhere which might have caused some confusion?
That's a possibility. That's a possibility. Although the databases they're using now are databases derived from satellite intelligence and things like that. It's not the traditional maps that you and I would be familiar with, but it's a very sophisticated database.
So it probably, given the nature of what they're doing and the stakes, particularly as targets are focused upon in central Belgrade, I suspect it's a high priority to have up-to-date information before you make a target list.
You bet. That would be a high priority, and that's in fact probably what they're intensively looking at now is the information they have in their database, and they're probably going to be doing some double checking on that.
All right. What do you think, General, the implications to the general course of the air war will be? There's been a lot of talk about how the targeting list has been limited in some ways in the past, and perhaps this particular night of attacks went right to the heart of Milosevic's command and control. Do you suspect NATO will come back off of that in the days to come?
If they do, I believe it will only be momentary, just to make sure they have their procedures correct. I mean, we have to look back and see that they've really had quite phenomenal success and accuracy in attacking things in urban areas. And the last night's attacks against the leadership category of targets, which is the highest category, indicates they're really trying to get after the leadership, to include a residence of Milosevic. I would expect to see the intensity continue, perhaps with a pause to make sure they've got their targeting cycle correct.
The situation in Niš, using the cluster bomb down there, cluster bombs by their nature would extend over a fairly broad area. Your opinion, is that an appropriate weapon given the nature of that airfield and surrounding communities?
Yeah, given the fact that they were going after aircraft in the open on the airfield, and the airfield is a fairly large area, it's an appropriate munition. Now keep in mind that even though it's an area weapon, the centroid of that pattern that's going to be laid down can be very accurately targeted. We don't have enough information to know right now what happened. Keep in mind too that the impact of the weapon was about 1 kilometer away from where the target itself actually